Okay, the recording should have started. I didn't hear it on my end, but hopefully it's
Looks like it's going.
Okay, cool, awesome. Okay, so today we are going to start a series of lessons. We are going to be building a new site, and each day we're going to add some new components and kind of build off of it. And your assignments for the day will also reflect the same new site. So you're going to be building it pretty much with us. So I would recommend to kind of focus today and just pay attention to the lesson, because you'll get a chance to build the exact same thing later today. All right. So for our topics today, or
Sorry,
what
just
we
to clarify real quick,
covered,
since yes,
we're going to cover planning and creating a React app. Actually, I'm not going to touch on this one, but passing down data.
Hey, Zainab.
Oh,
Oh, can you hear me in the headphones?
I cannot. Oh, I think my volume was down. Hold on one moment. I didn't know if anyone was talking.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Alicia had a question, and I
Okay.
just wasn't sure if there was an audio issue or not.
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything at all.
can you hear me now,
What
Zainab?
is going on? Okay,
Hello?
sorry.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay, now
Yeah,
I can hear you
you.
guys.
This is like every day of my life. Like
I feel like this is what it's like having kids. They just don't hear you.
it's just the voices. What's going on? No, Zainab,
Yes.
did today's lecture follow the day 3 notes, or is this different like yesterday?
No, this is going to follow the day 3 notes.
Okay.
But I would say, like, don't follow the actual notes, because those are this is what I'm going to be showing you exactly. So yeah, just kind of pay attention with this, and then we'll, like I said, you'll get a chance to do the exact same thing for your assignment tonight.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we're going to also be passing down data and functions as props. And then we might look at some React Bootstrap stuff at the end, which is pretty quick. Okay. Awesome. So, yeah, so like I said, this is going to be a series of lectures, and by the end, we'll have a fully functioning front end. So first, let's talk about project setup. So in general, when you want to create your project, you would want to first create your app, delete any boilerplate that you don't need. And then import your data. So your data, so this is only going to happen right now because in the beginning, I mean, because we have a file of data. So like soon we're going to switch it to an API. So right now we have we have an actual file that has data in it, and we're going to be using that. So we'll see an example of that. And then I think in a lecture or two, we're going to switch it to use an API. And then we're going to create our components. So let's start with that. Let me get my terminal. So I'm going to do npm or npx create beat. Okay, so this is behavior that I noticed specifically with beat. Although npx should automatically install your package if it doesn't know what it is, it doesn't with beat because there's this create and it somehow confuses it. So I've been using npm if it's not there. Or you can just install it using npx install beat. You just do that. Oh, I forgot you can't. Anyways, yeah, so let's do npm create beat. And I want to name my project new site 1. I'm going to choose React and then React again. Awesome. So now we have our new site here. So let's see. I'll cd into my project. I'll do npm install. Okay, I see my packages popped up in here. Everything ran smoothly. And now I'll do npm run dev just to make sure that everything is good. Okay. Actually, I'll just open. So, there we go. Okay. So the next step, I am going to delete the boilerplate just so we can have fresh start. So the only thing that I need to actually change here is the app file. So I'll just delete all of this. I don't care about it. I'm going to leave the scaffolding of this. So the div, and I'm going to delete this state because I don't want to counter anymore. Awesome. So now I'll secure my data. So I'm just going to put it in the new site here. Perfect. All right. So now, what do we want to do with this? We're trying to recreate this one website called Hacker News, which I seem to have lost the link to. No. Sorry, one moment. There we go. Okay. So this is what the site looks like. It's a very simple site. It just has a top nav bar and it has articles. So you have article teasers or just like a little bit, a glimpse of what the article is, and then you click on it and then it links you to a site. So that's kind of what we want to recreate. Well, it's number 17. Okay. Actually, let's keep that down here for reference. Okay. All right. So based on this site, what are some of the components that we might want in our app?
Nav bar.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's say okay. So we want first a nav bar. What else?
Ordered list.
Okay. So this list, what components will it be made out of? So if we see here, there's something that seems to be repeated. So maybe this top one, like, I mean, this top one is repeated through all of them. So, so maybe a component that would do this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. let's call it article teaser. And then, so here, let's look at our data real quick. So we have navbar items. So this is how what we're gonna use to display our item, our navbar. But here in the news.json, we have a list of articles. It's not the full article, it's kind of just information about it. But for now, this will do. So we don't really have, we do have links, but we don't really want to link to a different site. We're just going to want to show more information about the article for this news site today. So I would say article teaser, which would give you the title of the article and the date. And then maybe the article itself. So more article information, which would hold ID. What else do we have? We'll give it an ID. So an ID, a title. Yeah, so there's a title here, and created date. Actually, we'll just send everything in there. Yeah. We'll try to display as much information as we can in the article component. So article, just everything, I don't know. Here we'll add the ID. Okay. So let's start scaffolding out our project now that we know that these are the main components that we would want. Oh yeah, Alicia.
Yeah, I was curious, is it typical that you would stick the navbar stuff into a JSON file?
Not
Like,
always. It
you're-
depends on if there's specific things that you want to display on your navbar.
Because
But we
can you go
wanna-
back to the JSON file, the navbar one?
Yep. So this is just what the label is and a value that we want to display. So this is just a simple-ish example now. So we don't even have links because the navbar items usually link to other things.
Right.
So for our demonstration today, we're just going to have a label and then print out a value on like using console log. And then tomorrow we're going to look more, we're going to look into routing and stuff like that.
So, but like when you're, so is it common or not to like stick your navbar labels in a JSON file like this?
I have not seen it myself. I don't know if the other instructors would disagree. But yeah.
What is the benefit? Why are you doing it like this then?
To show you how to loop through a list and display items and create items through that. So we're practicing today, sending in data through props and creating list of items and actually one of them is conditional rendering.
So would each navbar link normally be just a component then and not put in a JSON file?
No, it could be. Actually, I'm not sure because I've only seen what I've done and it's what I've worked on is I'm just, they tell me what like things they want and I just add it into the navbar component. And I usually use a pre-styled one. So it'll look a little different than it looks today.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah, Jake.
Yes, sorry. But I'm a little confused on the components. When I was working on the assignments, I feel like I was just making too many
Mhm.
components. Like when would you break down the nav bar into like more than just one component, you know?
I would say if you have like a specific like search, like a search bar with a button, I would put that in its own component, maybe to handle search, because the entire nav bar doesn't really need to know the search. What else? Maybe the login and log out stuff would have specific specific functionality. Yeah, but you don't want, so you don't want every single one of these to be its own component.
Okay. So is
Um,
it, do you think it's better to have like the least amount of components possible, or is that not the right way to think
It's-
about that?
It's kind of what makes sense. So you want to abstract things out into functionality. So you want, so let's say this thing, right? So each row does a similar thing. So you're going to want to have one component that you can recreate over and over and over, because it's going to look the same. It's going to do the same thing, have the same behavior, or like a similar behavior. So this one, they all are links. So when you click on them, they reroute you to somewhere else and they display information. So this would be a component.
So it's like if it just does the same thing,
Yeah.
make it a component.
Yeah, so an option could be for this is that we can create one big component that holds all of this, like all of these, and it handles the body of the app. But for now, since we only have 3 components that we're working with, we'll just stick it to that. So it kind of depends. When you're developing, you'll get a feel for what's too much, what's a good amount.
Okay, cool.
But yeah,
Thank you. Sorry to slow down the.
no, not at all.
Yeah, and I just had a thought I wanted to add.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, just to add to that, Zainab. Yeah, too, like with the nav bar specifically, we're probably going to reuse the whole nav bar. You know what I mean? Like if we had multiple pages, we'd always want a nav bar. If somewhere we needed that login button, but not the whole nav bar, then we're like, okay, now we have a need because we need just the login button in more than one place. So that's a good rule too. Like, all right, do I need this in like more than just one spot? And then kind of like you were saying, Zainab, like part of it also comes down to like, especially once you're starting to move data around, sometimes breaking stuff into components makes it a little easier to have stuff rendered the right way when we want to, like with a list of things. Because if we break something into a component, then we can pass something in as props. And then if those props change, React will handle re-rendering that component. And Zainab, like you're saying, it just comes with practice too. There's definitely some judgment involved.
Yeah, definitely. Any other questions before we continue? Okay. So let me just kind of do a little more planning here. So our app is going to pretty much track all the state of our application, so of the other components too. So this is specific to this application. So here, this is me planning to write this application. So I have my app and I would want all of these in the app. So the app is going to track the state for the other components and contain them. We'll have our nav bar, which renders a list. So this one has list rendering. So we create a link for each one. So create a link. for each item in our data. And then our article teaser. This is going to take in ID, title, and date. I feel like that's a good amount of stuff to show on our teaser. And we'll probably also, actually, we'll get to that part later. But yeah, and then, so this will render info about article. And then on click, so we want it to allow us to see the article, because it's going to be too much if we have the entire list of all the articles just showing up there. So we would want to probably tease the article, and then when we click, we can show the article object or component, sorry. And then the article itself, this will have many props because we want to just take in all the information from our news data. And what is it called? And it will have conditional rendering. And this is based off of this. Okay, so let's start creating some components. In my new site, I'm going to create a folder, or sorry, in my source folder, I'm going to create a folder for my components. And let's say my first component is called navbar, which we already defined. So navbar.jsx. We want to also create our article teaser. And our article. Okay. So let's scaffold this out. So function navbar. We'll probably send in props, which we'll define later. And then we should set our return div and export default navbar. Okay. And we've seen this before with just creating a basic component. So I'm just going to say navbar here so we can actually see something on the screen. And this is kind of how I usually develop myself. I create the components, I create the files, and then I initialize them all. There's probably different ways of doing this, but this is my preferred way of initializing stuff. So article teaser. Article teaser. And then here. And then same for the article. Awesome. So now we have 3 components that are exporting. So now we can import them in here. So we want our navbar, article teaser, and then our article. Awesome. And let's do some display. Our navbar would go first. And article teaser. and then our article. So right now, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna really worry about the list of data. I'm just gonna start with kind of imagining that there's only one singular article. And then we'll add the list. Yeah, Dalton.
So whenever I use React, I have to like on your lines 4, 5, and 6, I have to put like the JSX file extension at the end. Would you
Mhm.
know why?
No, I mean, does it give an error if you don't have it?
So if I don't have it, it doesn't give me an error, but it
Mhm.
won't actually export, like it just won't load anything.
I'm actually not sure. Did you create your project with Beat or with
Yes.
Create React App? Okay.
Beat.
I'm actually not sure. I haven't seen that behavior yet. Yeah,
Cool. I was just wondering. Thank you.
yeah. If you see it again, maybe like take a screenshot or something and we can look at it another time. All right. So let's check on our app. Okay, so now we have navbar, article teaser, and article. I'm gonna actually remove some of the styling because I don't like that it's like in the middle of the screen. Sorry, it was somewhere here. Wherever it says center, here it is. Okay, there we go. Oops. Okay, I'm fine with it being in the center of the top. That's okay for me. Okay. I know this is all basic stuff that we've already seen. Any questions before we start looking at the data? All right. Okay. So the way we import data is pretty simple. So we can do import. I'm gonna give the data a name, so let's call it news from our data file. So dot slash, oh, actually it's dot from data news. Okay, so now we have my news and we're going to import our nav items as well. This is also coming from data and nav items.json. All right. So we have news, we have nav items. Where are we kind of gonna put these? We would most likely need to use state because we want the app to have information on both of those. So sorry, 1 moment. Okay. Yeah, Jake.
Is there a reason that we put them like on 8 and 9? Did we put them in the app.jsx file and not like the actual component that like is going to be using? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so so for this version of the app, we are going to keep the state in the app itself. So our whole app is going to have all the states, and then each component will only know about what we send into it. Yeah, because our article is going to take a subset of our news, and our article teaser is going to take a subset of our news. Our article is going to be the entirety of the news object. And then our nav bar will have our nav items, which we could also just do this import in the nav bar. But we want to kind of demonstrate pulling from props.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's start with our nav bar. So constant. What should we call this? Nav item? That sounds like a good name. And then set nav items. Equals set state. Oh, sorry, use state. My bad.
Is that going to conflict with the import of nav items? Oh, no, you have lowercase, never mind.
Yeah, I changed I can say, yeah, I can't think of a different name. And I'll initialize this with my nav items. Okay. So let's try sending this in here. So I'll just call them items for now. Items, I'm gonna send in my nav items. I don't really need to change anything, so I'm not going to use the set. Okay, so in my nav bar, so we have props. I think we saw this yesterday, where instead of doing props dot stuff, you can set the name at the top, and then so you can, I think it's called deconstructing. So I can just put items here and it knows to grab it from the props. Or I could have done, I could have kept this as props. And I could do constant items equals props. I think that should work.
And what are you trying to do there?
This is just to eliminate me having to use props dot items every time I want to use it, which won't be that many times here because we're only going to call it once probably, but yeah, it'll make it a little easier. All right. So if that's a little too confusing, then we can just keep props as it is, and then use the other syntax in a different one.
Would you mind just commenting it out for like looking at the notes?
Yeah, definitely. There we go.
Is that another way of doing the deconstructuring thing?
Yeah. So it's either like this, or you can have up here, instead of props, you can just put curly braces and then put the names of the things that you have inside your props. And that will give you access to the items themselves with their actual name as they are.
Okay, yeah, because my question on that was like, how would you select which one? Like if you had more than one prop, because like we've been doing like prop dot whichever thing you want to target.
Yeah.
There was
So-
more than one and you just had it as items. How would you target the specific?
So it would be, so items is the name of the prop that is there. So if I
Oh.
had another prop named something else, I would just put a comma. And
Okay, I didn't
put the
catch the
name.
items. I thought you were trying to like put them all into one label, but
Oh,
okay.
okay. Yeah, that's, yeah. Michael?
Yeah, yesterday with Adam's workshop, when he did the instructor, he used curly braces. Does it not matter or
Oh, in here?
yeah,
I think I need to, instead of the square brackets, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's more correct. That is
Yeah.
correct, I mean.
Yeah, it is a little confusing too, because you can also do destructuring with arrays, which is what we do with like the use state hook, for example. So you can do it with square brackets, but you do that when you're destructuring an array. For destructuring an object, it's the curly braces because that's objects in JavaScript.
Couldn't find my mute button. Okay, thank you. All right, so for my nav bar items, I am gonna make link tags. So instead of this, I would want a, and then I think this one is source or href, I forgot. href, thank you. There we go. So href equals something, but for our sakes right now, our href is not going to hold anything, just because we don't have we're not going to do routing yet. So that's tomorrow's thing. We're going to want a special click behavior. So we're going to want an on click. And we're going to send something in. And then here we'll have our text from our item. So how do we make it into a list? Does anyone remember the syntax, or I don't know if we covered it in lecture, but the syntax to iterate through this pretty quickly or easily?
In HTML?
In JSX.
Would it be kind of just like Django, where you make a for loop, and then for every item inside of items, you would return the anchor tag if that's what you're trying to return?
Yeah, that's one way to do it. We could definitely have a separate function that just loops through them. JavaScript gives us a wonderful method called map. So items.map. I need to put this in curly braces. So items.map. Trying to remember the syntax here, but I think it will give us this. Okay, so this is the syntax for map. What it does is it takes whatever list you have and it gives you every single item. So in this in the parentheses, you put whatever name you want for that. So this is like doing for item in items. If you remember the previous Django template way of doing it. So this will loop through our items and give us every single item that is inside of it. And this is just an alias, so I could give it whatever name I want. But for clarity's sake, I'm just gonna call it items right now. And then we will do our tag in here. So what this does is it creates an entire list of these tags, one right after the other, and just outputs it to the screen. So I'm gonna do a onClick function. So let's call it. Actually, before I do that, let's just display the actual label.
Oh, Zeynep, there's a curly bracket on line 11 that I think is unnecessary. VS Code probably did some auto adding of stuff.
That's for our internal function there.
Yeah, this goes here. And then.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I don't know that
I
that's
got
the
it.
way to do this.
Yeah, if you want to, you could move the parentheses from line 12 to line 11, because it's I think that's why I got confused. Because the closing parentheses closes out the dot map. And then the other curly bracket is for, yeah, but it is confusing. There's honestly not a great way to do it with it in React like this.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
But that was correct. Sorry about that.
Oh, Francisco.
Yeah, so we do the for loop for the item, but then the item's never being called. Is that meant to be called inside of the anchor tag?
Exactly. So I'm going to reference the data real quick to see. So we have label and we have value. Label is what we're going to display, and then the value is what we want to use in our onClick.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be item intel label. Braces, curly braces. Item dot label. Yeah, that's the right way to say it. Okay. So let's just check to see if this renders what we want it to render. And it does not. Let's see what I did wrong. Oops. Let's just start with a regular div to see if that's the issue. It might be with my my label or the way I'm accessing the item. So this should give us just the, okay. So navbar is not returning properly. Line
Try
10,
putting something before line 9 just to see if navbar is rendering at all.
yeah. Yeah, okay, it is rendering, it's just the map. So let's check that. All right, yeah.
Zainab, whenever I use the map function,
Mhm.
I use a parentheses like where you have the curly braces.
Here,
No, not that one. To the right.
This
Yeah,
one?
that one. Try.
Okay.
Yeah.
it might be that. Awesome, thank you so much. Yeah, I always have to look up the syntax and I didn't this time. I was trying to do it from memory. Which is a mistake sometimes. Okay. So now, yay, we got our items. I'm gonna uncomment the stylings in general because I feel like they're messing up with they're messing with the display. Okay. No, this makes sense. Okay. So I want it to be a link or an A tag. Oops, sorry. Awesome. So now we have our list. It looks very ugly, but we have a list. Let me try uncommenting because I think it was just okay. I mean, looks a little better. That's fine. I'm gonna keep it like this. When I'm developing, I kind of like to see it be pretty. It makes me feel better. All right. So any questions about this, about the mapping and the looping through items? No? Okay. So now what I want is to add a behavior on click. So let's call this handle navbar click. Let's try to remember the syntax. I think it's this. No, it's not. Hold on.
Should be
Okay,
const
it's
handle navbar
equals.
click equals. Yeah.
Yeah, this is equals. Okay. It's okay. So what do we want to do on click? for our case right now, we just want to display our item label. So we are going to take in an item. And then we are going to just do a console log. Console log item dot, what was the other one called? It was label and I think value. What's these? Yeah, it's value. Item dot value. All right. So now we actually have to call the handle navbar click. So we'll do on click. And we'll call this function. And then we're going to send in our item. So here we can send in our item and then handle this as item and like look for the value, or we could send in item.value in here and then just take in value and then just print out a value here. So let's see if this would work. Let's open that. Okay. So it doesn't work. Let's see what I did wrong. Does anyone see anything that I had done wrong in this?
Yeah, so for the on click, whenever you're calling the function, I know what works for me is using the arrow function.
Where here?
Yeah, so like you would have inside the curly braces, not there, like before the handle navbar
yeah.
click. Yeah, just parentheses equals.
There.
No, just
Oh,
yeah, like that.
like yeah. And then this is
Yeah,
without
that-
this, and then here we
No.
go.
Nope. How you had it should work.
Okay,
Yeah, just like that.
let's check. Awesome. Awesome, it works. I do think the other way might also work. I just want to check it real quick. This is for curiosity's sake.
Hey, Rex, you want to go ahead and explain why that works?
Never mind.
So I think
Faith.
if you don't use the arrow function like that, like it's calling it right away, but you haven't clicked anything yet. So using the arrow function like makes it wait for the actual click to send it.
Yeah, so if we didn't want to put this, we can't send in anything because we would have to send it by reference. So if we just, if we put this function name and we didn't have these parentheses, this would be sending it in by reference, and we're not actually calling the function itself. We're not saying like, hey, go execute this.
So basically, upon creating the on-click equals and that function, you're actually calling it at that time rather than doing it on click, so to speak.
Exactly. So if I did,
But by making an on-click a function that results in calling that question,
yeah, so
Yeah.
you see here,
makes sense.
I removed the parentheses, so I can just actually send it in here. Someone is unmuted.
Oh, that's me. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's
Sorry
okay.
about that.
But yeah, so you can just call it like this without the parentheses, or you have to.
If you want to pass in a
send it
value,
by
you have
reference.
to-
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. If you just want to say like, here's this function, take it and use it whenever you need to, which is on click here. But because we needed to put the parentheses because of the value,
Okay, so it's a combination you have to make when you pass in a value to your function.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, I apologize. I know I kind of asked this already, but I'm a
okay.
little hung up on how like the actual data is getting to the navbar.jsx file, because like we imported into app.jsx, right?
So
And then-
let's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, you can tell me what you've seen so far from it, or what you know so far.
Well, I mean, to me, I would think that I'm only able to like access the data in the app.jsx file because that's where it's being imported to. I just don't really
So-
see like the connection from like the nav items JSON file, which goes to app.jsx, but then how are we able to like
Okay, so maybe I should have named this a little differently. Let's name it nav items data. Okay, so I'm importing nav items data from the JSON file. And then I'm creating a state called nav items, which I'm initializing with this data. So it's taking this list. It's taking this list of dictionaries. And then it's initializing nav items with that list of dictionaries. So here, I'm going to change this to nav items data. And so this data is going into my nav items state. And then this state is being sent into the nav bar, and that's how we have access to it in there.
oh, okay. So that like that it's a property and then that's how we're able to get it in
Exactly.
navbar.js.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool,
we're
that
sending
clears
it.
I just
yeah.
didn't really see the connection. But thank you, that helps.
No problem. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'll point out, just to add to that, that it does help to change names of things when you can.
Yeah.
Sometimes it like, when you're writing your own code, I guess it makes sense to like make like things the same name if you can. But in terms of like watching and learning, if things are all the same name, we kind of assume they're all the same. And it's hard to find where it becomes something else. So
I do agree.
thank you.
So for that import, you can just name it whatever you want. It doesn't have to actually correspond to the name of any dictionary or anything within the nav items.json.
Exactly. So you're importing whatever that data is as whatever name you put it. Because in here, we don't actually, where's the data? We don't actually have a name anywhere here.
So whatever you put, it'll assume that that's it.
Exactly.
Now, what if that JSON file, or will you ever see that? Like this is one list. Shoot, this is Python, JavaScript. One list, one array, whatever you want to call it. This is one. Would we ever see a situation where we have 2 or 3, where maybe that gets a little more tricky?
It could be. So in general, in JSON, you have to have one encompassing thing. So it's either going to be a dictionary or a list.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be one or the other, and then you access the cascading elements based on that, based on how the data is defined.
Okay. Thank you.
Here I'll just make a note of the handle nav bar click. So sending by reference, you would do just this. And then sending by reference. With parameters. You would do this. Okay, there we go. All right, so our nav bar is done and working. Perfect. Let's look at that article data. All right, so these items are going to be kind of related. So they should be coupled together. So if I was doing this myself, I would probably have some encompassing component, and then that component is in here, and these two would be inside of that component. But I don't know if that's too many levels, so we'll just keep it like this. Let's initialize some news data. So I'm going to create a state. Actually, before we move on to those components, does anyone have any questions for the nav bar? Or the data imports? No. All right. Okay, so I am, oops. I'm gonna do articles, set articles. Actually, to begin with, I'm just gonna take one and then we'll make a list out of it. So I'm just gonna do a singular article, set article equals use state. And I am going to define my own article. So I'm just going to take a random one. So let me just randomize a number. I'm actually going to take this, copy this code over. Okay, so this first line is giving me a random index. And this is based on the length of the news. So the data that we have in here, I just want a random article. So this is randomizing an index for me. And then my random article is going to be news at that index. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
How did you just do that?
So this is just a random function, so a randomizer. We've seen, I'm pretty sure we've seen this before a few times. So this one gives me a random index, and this part over here just tells me what is my max.
Oh, I mean, how did you just do that? How did you just put it in there? Oh, where did you copy? But where did you copy and paste it from? I didn't see you change.
I copied it from, no, I copied it from my notes. That's fine.
Okay.
I just didn't want to type it. Yeah. But I guess the time that it takes me to explain that I copied it from there would have kind of offset at the same time of typing it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can we just look at the news JSON just to see what
Yep.
So there's only,
Let me scroll this down a little.
I only see one array. How is it gonna, oh, hold on. Is it, yeah, could you?
So this is one object.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops.
How are you gonna reference it with that index that you're getting? Like if you're getting a random, well, it must be right because it's in the notes. I'll just watch. But
so
I just can't see how it's going to reference some sort of index.
Okay. Let's just say we're gonna grab the first one. Okay, let's make this so much easier for us. Our first index is 0. Or let's say 1. I don't know. So it's a little more random.
Oh my goodness! Obviously, okay. Yeah, Alicia just showed me.
Yeah. So so this one's a list, and yeah, you access it using the index here.
Yeah, I don't know. I need more coffee, I guess.
No worries. Okay. Okay, so now we have access to our article, and we can set the state. So we can use our article or set our article to be a dictionary, and we can set what we want to take from this file. So this file is kind of long. It has a lot of like images and stuff, so we only want a few pieces of information. So let's do ID. This one's going to be our random article, or actually our ID is going to be our random article index. Since in here they don't actually give us an ID, we're just going to define that ID. So we have that, we have our title, which is our random article dot title, or yeah, dot title. We're also gonna take the abstract. Some good information about the article. And same random article dot abstract. And then what's it called? Let's see what else. Let's take the byline, so we know who wrote it. Random article dot byline. Sorry, was someone gonna say something, or? Yeah, Alicia.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. So I was just thinking, like, I don't know how often you would import it like this, but
Mhm.
let's say there was like a whole bunch of keys. Could you do a function in there where it says something like, you know, for key in, what would it be, in news,
Mhm.
key equals news key, and then it would just make all of them?
I don't think I'm understanding your question.
Okay, well, never mind, it's fine.
No, so do you mean instead of just taking one random article?
You're like manually basically copying the key for each object and assigning it to the value of that key of that object, right?
Yes. Yes. So this is just to show to start our development, and then once we get both of these working, then I can change this to a list, and then we'll do that. So right now I'm just taking one article out of the entire list. I'm not initializing an entire list of articles. I'm just taking one.
Okay, I also don't really understand why you couldn't just say use state random article.
Because I don't want all of this information.
Oh,
Yeah, it's too much information for me to actually need. So generally you don't want to really keep around data that you don't want to use and you're not going to use. So there's no point of doing that. Like I have all these images, but for my sake, I only want to grab one.
all right, I realize you're picking and choosing. I got it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Okay. So let's grab an image. So we can say random article dot multimedia, which is what they call it. And we'll check the length. So if there is a length, that means there's actual items in the multimedia thing, in the multimedia array. If not, it's going to be null. So it's not going to, we're not going to have an image. So not sure if many of you have seen this, but this is a ternary operator, which allows you to do like an if-else statement. So this is the if clause. So if this, then do this, which we're going to set our image to random article dot multimedia at index 0. So we're just going to grab our first image in that list. So this is, if there's a length, then give me the first image. Else, put null in this in image. Alicia, your hand is up. Yeah.
Oh,
Or was that from before? Oh no.
Stretching.
Okay. Okay, does this make sense? This part here? Yeah. Okay. And last part we're going to take from here is, let's do the created date. So, created, actually, I think this is the better syntax. Created date. Random article dot created date. Awesome. Okay. So this holds all the information that we're going to need from the article. So this is so much easier to read and more condensed than having all of this information, which is just extra for our usage. All right. How are we feeling? Good. Let's see, it's 10:17. Let's take a few minutes break and come back. So maybe at 10:25. Yeah. Or yeah, 10:25. All right, everyone. Hopefully everyone's back. Okay. So I know it wasn't a very long break, but what we've done so far is we created an app, an app component that has 3 components. We have a nav bar, article teaser, and an article. And our nav bar takes in a list of items that we pulled from a JSON file. And it creates a link for every single item. And that link, when pressed, where's the nav bar? And that link, when pressed, we do a console log to see what the value of that item was. And then we grabbed one article from our news data. Sorry, I call it news data. So it's a little more uniform. And where is it here? News data. All right. So we grabbed a random article from our news data and we defined the data that we want to grab from it. So we're grabbing an ID, title, abstract, byline, image, and created date. Any questions so far? All right. So let's see. For our article teaser, what information did we want to send in? Let's look at our notes. So our article teaser, we want to send in ID, title, and a date. So let's say ID equals, and we're going to grab this information from the article. So ID equals article.id. And then title equals article.title. And then our created date, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So our date will be article.created date. Okay. So now display, or this is sending in the props. So let's go handle the props. So in here, I'm going to choose to say what props I'm getting, just because it's easier. So I'm going to be pulling in ID, title, and date. So let's close out the nav bar because we're done with that. ID, title, date. And for now, let's just print out our title and make sure it works. Okay. Awesome. So that's our first title. Let's make sure it's the actual title in the data. So we grab the second one. There we go. It's in a different language. Okay. Any questions so far? This is kind of the same basic stuff that we were talking about. Awesome. So we do want to display a little bit more than just our title. So let's see, how should we do this, guys? ID, title, date. Okay. What should we, like what type of elements should we have these in? So the title could be in
Like an
maybe
H2.
Sure, let's do that. H2 will have our title.
would you not put it all in the same tag? Wouldn't that look better or no?
We could, let's try doing different tags for each one, just so we can practice putting multiple, I mean, we've done it before. But yeah. What else? Create a date. Maybe a P tag, which is, I think, paragraph, right? I always forget. Okay, so we'll put the date in there. Do we really need to display the ID? We don't really need to. We could, but let's just say H6. Okay. And ID, and I forgot parentheses or the curly braces. Okay, let's see what this looks like. So this is our first one. Does look a little ugly. Let's try to put them next to each other a little bit. You can create a row. I don't know if this is too. I forgot how to do that. Let's not do that.
Does React
Huh?
does React use Bootstrap by default, or do you have to export it or import it?
So actually, I don't remember. We were going to cover this today, actually. I was going to show you React Bootstrap's own components, which now is a good segue to it. So React Bootstrap, and they have already built components that you can use. So like the stylings are like how we were using them before, but instead of our old way of saying like type equals this and then class equals this, we can just import the actual piece from here. So if we wanted to do, let's say, maybe a card or a list, no. Trying to think of what's a good like element.
A button.
A button. I don't think we want to put all that information in a button. But yeah, see, so this is an example of it. You just import button from React Bootstrap. So you do have to do npm install. I'll show you how to do that in a sec. But you just import it at the top and then use button, and that will override whatever button is normally used. So you can, it will have its own set like props. So here they have a prop called variant, and you can change whatever type of button there is and stuff like that, which I think is very cool. I haven't touched a lot of CSS in my life, which is probably bad. I do need to practice a little more, but this makes it easier if you're not too CSS inclined, and you can just choose your stylings from these components. So yeah, let's see.
It doesn't like look like there's like a container though on this page. Would you not be able to do like the whole container, like div dot column small 6 and stuff like that? Like
a container. Let me see, layout probably. There's a grid. Yeah, okay. So they do have containers. So let's do that.
okay.
So I can do container, I can do row. So that's what I wanted to do. But I didn't want to use the row for Bootstrap without explaining how this works. So let us.
So in the chat, this is a good question. Can we just use the regular Bootstrap by just
you can
the CDN?
Yeah, you can do that. I think this is easier, just to import a component, but you can definitely use that other way and it will be fine. So if we did, so I'm gonna copy a button from the way it is and let's see if it actually
It
works.
kind of seems like if you do it this way, like every time you're gonna use a new element, you'd have to make sure you imported that
Yeah.
element. Whereas like if you just used the regular Bootstrap, you don't have to worry about is this or that imported. You can just like write the code however.
Let's see what this will look like. Okay, so yeah, you don't even need to import it. It's like included in, which is pretty cool. So you can just use this if you want.
I thought you had to import the button.
No, so this is the old way of doing it, where you put type equals button and then class equals button primary. So these set your unless they're already predefined here, then that would kind of.
I'm pretty sure that's a predefined button. Because the button
It might be, yeah. Oops, that's not what we wanted. Okay. Let's see what it looks like now. Yeah, it's just an old button, but yeah, we would have to what is it called? Pull it into I think the main dot either here or in our HTML. So we can, yeah, if we're doing the CDN, we would do in the HTML, the index.html, so we can put our import in here. But yeah, you could also do an import in here to import like a bunch of CSS that will be accessible to you throughout your entire app. But yeah, this is just kind of like a little intro to that. It's not really an intro. This is it. You can either use it this way, or you can import the elements, which because I wanted to do it like the container thing, so I'm going to use this. So I'm going to copy these, go back to my code, and make it a little readable. Okay. So I guess instead of my div, I can have container. Oops. Container. And then we'll have row. There we go. Let's see what this looks like. I don't know if we need columns. I mean, we probably do, but yeah. Oh, I didn't install it. That was my bad. Pull up the
So you
terminal.
probably want to have access to container, row, and column throughout like your entire app. So if you imported that on app.jsx, would you have to do anything special to be able to use it in Article Teaser?
I think in each component you usually have to do an import. Let me try doing this because in previous syntax, I don't know if they've changed this, but you can do import container, row, column from React Bootstrap. And that used to work. So let me first install the packages. I forgot about that part. So you're installing two things, React Bootstrap. Yep. And just Bootstrap. I got this from the site, so I'm not sure the difference between the two packages, but this is what it asks for. I think Bootstrap maybe feeds the React Bootstrap packages.
So Bootstrap is just the regular Bootstrap package. It's the exact same thing as you'd get with the CDN link. It's just a bunch of style sheets that define some classes you can use and a little bit of JavaScript for the components. React Bootstrap is just a bunch of React components that implement the Bootstrap components. So it's a React component like of the nav bar and of the button and all that. But it doesn't actually include the Bootstrap styles itself. It just refers to those classes. So that's why you need to install both of them.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw what I just did. I was in my top level folder and then I did an install, and that's not where I need it. I need it inside my project. So I just deleted the 3 files, or the node modules that was created, and then the package lock and package.json because they weren't in the right place. And then I went back into my new site app and then I did the installs. Okay, so now it should recognize this. Okay, each child in a list should have a unique key. So in my nav bar, this is not my nav bar. Okay, here, we just have to set key equals something, and I'm gonna do item dot label, because that's unique. Okay, let's see now. We shouldn't get, okay, that was gone. So this doesn't look the way that we want it because I don't have the columns in there. So I'm gonna add a few columns in my container, in my row. So my first column is that. And then, oops. And I'm not going to worry too much about the styling, but as long as I get them on one row, I will be happy. Which it's not working.
I
might
think the
need-
import, if you take away the curly braces, I think that'll work.
Yeah, that is probably why. I used to like when this was a thing because you can have all your imports, all your components on one.
I think it'll work that way,
Fine.
but without the curly braces.
Oh, without the curly braces.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that. That is also possible. Or that's probably the way to do it. Oh, doesn't like that. Yeah, it doesn't like the curly braces thing. Oh, expected. No.
What about like a trailing slash or something weird?
I think you need the curly braces when you're importing something that wasn't exported as default.
Yeah, that's why I had it in there. But I think maybe they just changed their like the way they do imports. So instead of having just one, they want you to have many, which is kind of annoying, but
Yeah, they might have just changed it.
yeah. Okay. I think I might need to restart my server.
Don't you have to like set like your column size? Like, is that not a thing for React?
It should automatically do it. It shouldn't be like, see here, like column. That is very weird. Okay, I'm not gonna play around with this too much. I'll try to figure it out later. It's just gonna look ugly today, which is still okay. Okay, so we're getting our information, and we want to do, if we click on the title, we're gonna see our article under it. So let's try to get that functionality working. So here, I'm gonna keep track of our states up here in the app. So I'm gonna create my my click handler in here. Because later on, we're gonna have a list of these. So yeah, this is gonna make it easier later on. So let's do handle title click. It's gonna be a function. Okay. And what this function is going to do is take an article ID. Stick with the syntax. So it's going to take an article ID and then let's just do console log right now. Console.log article ID. Okay. So now we need to import this or send it in with the props. So we're going to send in our handle click method equals handle title click. Sorry about that, inside of curly braces. Okay. So just a reminder, I sent it in like this because I'm not calling it and I'm not doing anything with the actual variables in here. I'll do that inside the article teaser itself. So that's why I'm just sending it in without anything with it. So now we go back to the article teaser. Here we will have access to our handler now. Actually, this is going to be interesting because I don't know. Oops, that's a. Okay. I just wanted the name. Okay, we'll see if we can call it like this, or if we're gonna have to switch back to prop, or maybe do it like that. I'm not sure. That doesn't work. Okay. We'll see what is gonna happen. So actually the title, let's change it into actually, no, it's fine. We can keep it as an H2. And then we're gonna set the on click equal to handle click or handle title click. And we are going to send in our ID because that's what we're seeking. So we're just going to put ID in there. And let's see what happens. I'm going to clear this. If I click on this, an error happens. Handle title click is not a function. Okay, so that means that the way I imported it here is wrong, which I'm honestly not sure how to properly.
I think you named it handle click on your apps page.
Yes, thank you so much. That definitely might be that. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, yeah, handle click is not a function. Did I spell it right? Yeah.
Do we
So-
need to import
The
it?
lowercase h, yeah.
Thank you. My eyes are just glossing over it. So okay, it worked. Awesome. So now it just sends the ID. So when we click on the title, it calls handle click and it sends in our ID for that article. And then what this function does is it clicks. All right. Any questions?
I have a question, Zainab.
Yeah. Mhm.
So handle click on line 34 at the end, that is a property. And then I was having trouble yesterday with handle click versus on click.
So handle
Could you
click is just
talk a little bit about that?
yeah, so handle click is just a name that I gave it. So I could call it click function. And then I would have to take it in as click function here. So this part is just a name that I'm giving it so I can access it in my component. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Here we go. So whatever is defined here in the props on the left side, this is the alias that you're gonna be accessing whatever is on the right side with. So inside of your component, this name has to match whatever you use here. And then again, like we said, this, copy this over. So we can do it this way, or we can just do it. Oops, I'll just actually delete this one. Or we can just call it, like take in all of the props and then access each individual one by props.id, props.title, props.date, props.click function. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that helps.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Mhm. Any other questions? Okay. So now our button is working for our article teaser. Now we're gonna fix up our article. Okay. So what do we want to send into our article? If we look at the data, we want to display all the information. So we would probably want to just send in everything. And so instead of having to write out every single one, like ID equals ID, title equals title, abstract, since I want everything in here, there's this wonderful syntax. It's a spread operator that we've seen before, but we can do it for this also. So this will, if we say ... article, this will give us all of these pieces as individual items. So that way we don't have to worry about separating them. So if we don't want to send in our entire article and we just want to send in these individual pieces, then we can use this operator. So this just takes the object and separates out all the individual elements that are inside. So if we go into our article component, we will have access to all of those. So props, let's just display the image. So image, let me look at the data real quick. There we go. Oops. So our image looks like this. So we're going to want to grab the URL for our image tag. So source equals props. Get your curly braces. Okay, so props dot, I forgot. Okay, image. Dot, it was URL. Let's just say URL. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So since we, over here in the image, we copied over that entire object. So what's something that could go wrong here?
Maybe it doesn't have an image.
Exactly. So what do you think we should do here?
Maybe do like a conditional render where if it has an image, display it. If not, display something else.
Yeah, but I think that sounds good. So we can do
Also,
props
is there a
dot.
reason you did decide to pass in the entire image dictionary instead of just the URL? Are you planning on using the rest of those, the data?
I could, maybe later on I will, but right now I'm just gonna use the URL. Which I guess, like you said, I could probably just do image URL here. But yeah.
Can you go back to the data? Real quick?
Data, yes.
News.
One second, I'm just taking out my charger, so if you want to look at it, take your time.
Okay, and can you go back to your app.jsx?
Article or app?
App. Okay, got it, thanks.
Sorry, my cord is a little tangled. One second. All right, okay, I'm back. So, how do we do this? We're gonna check if there's an image. And then if an image exists, we are going to, so we're asking it, is there an image? If so, then we do this. We just return the image tag. Else, we are going to just, let's just say image not found or something like that. I guess paragraph would be better. Okay. So let's see. Awesome. So this is our first image from that one article. If I go back to my app, and let's say I want to change the article to 12. I don't know what article that is. If I go here. Oh, that's perfect. So this one didn't have an image and it says image not found. Wow, that was lucky. Okay. Or also doesn't have an image. Okay, but you get the point. So if we have images, display. If we don't, then don't display. I feel like these articles are weirdly chosen. I don't know. But yes. What else? What do we need to do now? Let's just stick to this. We want to display the image of our article once our headline is clicked. So I'm going to remove the ID from the teaser. I don't really care for that. Excuse me. Okay. Also, I think I have to import the Bootstrap into one of the initial pages. That's why it might not be working, but yeah, maybe after lunch I'll kind of play around with that. Okay, so our top thing got deleted, which is good. Actually, before this, I'm gonna do an HR element, which actually gives you like a line. So it gives you a line before. So if we have multiple articles, they'll be separated by a line. So that'll be a little easier to see. Okay. Our article teaser. Yeah, Alicia.
Yeah, I may have this thinking wrong, but I was thinking like normally the article teaser, you would click on it and then it would take you to a new page with the actual article information. So I know that you didn't include the anchor tag because you didn't want to do that, but how I would be curious to know though, how do you set up a link to another component?
So that we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna do routing and we'll have, yeah, we'll have like different pages and you can swap out components based on whatever you route to. So that's what we would end up doing. If you wanna like click on it and then it opens up a new component or like shows something else that will be with our routing. Okay, what are we gonna do? We are going to go back to our handle click and do something other than this. What's our options here? So if we click it, we only want to show this article if the click was there. So what can we do? Any ideas?
Could you say the question?
Article, the image.
So we want to only render our article or this component, our article component, after it has been, the article teaser has been clicked. So we have a click function here. So how do we do, what's one of our options to do with conditional? Like how do we conditionally show this component based on a click function? What could we do?
You could set a state and set that equal to true or false, maybe.
Okay, let's try that. So constant, let's call it show article. And that show article. So equal to use state. And I'm going to initialize show article with false because I don't want it to show in the beginning. Okay, I think that looks good. So that means when I do a click, what's going to happen? Or what should I do?
To the opposite.
Okay, yes. So we're gonna take our switch variable pretty much and flip it. So if it's false and we click it, we want it to show up. So we're going to change it to true. And then if we click it again, we could switch it back to false. So a way to do this is we can do set show article, and then we can say not show article. So what this does is it just flips whatever it is. So it's false, then not false is true, so it sets it to true, and same thing with the opposite way. Okay. So let's, okay, so this should work. So let's try to add a conditional here. So we do have a few options with this. We could either do an and. So we can do this syntax where show article. So show article is true or false. And then we do an and then we put the component here. Oops. Okay. So what this does is if this is true, then it will show the article. If this is not true, then it's not going to show the article. That's pretty much what it is. So let's test it out. So we click, and then it shows the button, or it shows the image. Perfect. And then we click it again, it's gone. Awesome. Any questions about this?
So you said that with the double and, it'll
Mhm.
only show if it's true, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a nice way to allow like conditional rendering. Another option could be, well, let's say we have a, I'm going to comment this out. So another option could be, we have a function. So let's say this function is called render if big lists. Or render if show. Or something like that. I don't know, that's a bad name, but it's fine. So here we're going to do a function call because we actually want to call this function when it gets to this point in the code. So I'm going to create a new function called render show. Yeah, Dalton.
I guess I just don't understand. Wouldn't what you're doing on line 40 just be checking if show article and I don't know. I guess is that just like a React thing?
Yeah, so this component is not going to be false. So if this is true, then this will get shown. I think it is I don't know if it's specific to React, but I think it is, where you can show this component if this thing is true.
Hang on, I just want to add real quick. This is actually a basic JavaScript feature. This is called short circuiting, what we're doing here. So we could actually test this out with just like integers or whatever at the command line really quick if you want to just get a sense of what this does. So can you just open Node real quick here, actually? Oh yeah, I see a new different tab there. Cool. So if you just say like let foo equals true and 10, it'll like evaluate like the logical and say like if the first one is true, then we have to look at the second one to see if the whole expression is true. And if it is, then foo just gets the value of the second one. So if you just console log foo, we should see that now.
I think you just type foo. Since
I guess that would work too, yeah. Yeah, so like that. And so this also works with or for like setting default values for things. If you're not sure if something exists, you can have expressions like, like let bar equals false or 20 or whatever. So then if the first term is falsy, so it's 0 or false or undefined or empty string, sorry, or the double pipes. Or the pipes, it's the on the backslash. Sure. Yeah. So this would be more interesting if instead of false, it was like an object or like a reference to something that may or may not be defined. So in that case, if the thing is defined, then B is just going to take the value of the first thing and it never even looks at the second value. But if the first value is undefined or false or something like that, then it has to look at the second value to see if the whole expression is true. So this is kind of like sort of a weird hack, I guess, kind of leveraging the logical operators of JavaScript to do something slightly different. But this is fairly idiomatic JavaScript code. I think this is pretty common to see in various code bases around. People use logical operators like this. So it's not specific to React. You can do this in any JavaScript code base.
And what's this called again?
Short circuiting.
Short circuiting. Thanks.
Yeah.
So the reason why it's called short circuiting is because if like JavaScript chooses the first value in like let's say you had let b equals true or 20, then it would choose the true and it would never even look at the 20. And so this is especially useful if instead of just like a hard-coded number, it was calling a function. Then in that case, JavaScript would not even call your function. It would just use the first value and then forget the rest of the expression. So that's short circuiting. It like stops evaluating it early if it thinks it already got an answer, basically. So that can be useful if you want to like, I guess like use a default value if it exists, if it's defined, and if not, then like maybe send an API request to get data from somewhere else instead. But you wouldn't want to send that API request unless it was actually necessary to do so. So the short circuiting behavior allows that function to just not be called if the first value was defined. Sorry, that was probably more of an explanation than we needed, but
no, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Awesome. Okay. Let me let's. Oh. Okay.
We have time for a quick break before you continue, or
We're almost done with this little part. And what time is it? It's 11. Actually, yeah, let's take a little break. We'll come back at 11:20.
thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Raphael.
Yeah.
So for that short circuiting thing, is it returning the second half?
I wouldn't use return in this context, but I'd say the expression evaluates to the value of that second item.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah, or I mean, the first or second one, depending on what's true and false, and if it's and or whatever. But yeah, I would say the expression evaluates to some value. Returning is what you get out of a function.
Yeah, because when I was running it in the node, what do you call it? REPL. It actually showed as a return value, which was a little confusing. But like if I put in the node REPL like true and 5, it shows 5 as a return value. But I guess it, yeah, with React, I guess it's evaluating. Makes sense. Because there's no return. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Are we supposed to still be recording and sharing? Other sound.
No, there's no sound.
Oh, is that Zainab sharing right now?
She's probably just
Yeah.
trying to get the bootstrap to work.
She and Raphael are back there doing stuff.
Oh, okay. I was just losing my mind, I guess.
Hi, sorry, I'm back. We're back. We were just kind of playing around with the React Bootstrap stuff and figuring out why it's not working. Which it should, based on all of our stuff. So what we found out is it's actually rendering the container, the row, and the column. I think it's just the size of thing. It might be the, oops, might be the app stylings that are in here.
Potentially. Yeah,
I
maybe
think-
just remove the,
Both of them.
yeah,
Let's do
start
that.
from a fresh slate.
Mhm.
Although you'll still get the default bootstrap styles.
Yeah. No. That's so weird.
Can you inspect it and see what styles it's getting? Click on the something with a bootstrap class on it. Column D auto or div class row. That's for that guy doing.
Which one? So,
Yeah. It doesn't look like it has any styles on it.
Yeah.
Did you install Bootstrap in addition to React Bootstrap?
yeah, I put both of them in there. It was just that one. So let me do it one more time, in case.
Oh, no, you know what it is? You have to import the Bootstrap style sheet itself. You don't
That's-
get that automatically just by installing it
You have to
Okay.
add that CSS. That's
Okay.
always-
That is very annoying.
every time.
Okay, so on. You guys can hear us, right? You guys are kind of following along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did they give
So
you the snippet for that here?
they do, yeah. So global, you can just put this in.
You should be able to look at the one from your package J or from your node modules, like the local one that you installed. I mean, that'll work too for the CDN.
That's what I thought so too.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
Oh, here's the style.
That's
sheet,
what I'm
this
talking
one.
about.
There we go. Okay. And I'll put this in app, or should I put it in the main one? Do you think?
App maybe? App or
Yeah,
index?
it said right
App
there,
or
your
index?
index for your
Yeah.
app.
Or main, I guess, is what we're calling it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess main would be a little better, so it's on a higher level. Okay, let's see it now. Please work. Oh, I stopped my development server. That's not what I wanted to. Okay. Okay, so something is different. It's giving,
It's got the row class. I think.
yeah. It's just the column part is not working. Which is fine. I think this is a little better than nothing, but
Might not be able to fit it on the whole screen, so it might be pushing it down.
yeah, I put column medium auto, which should have done something, but let's do I think it's large actually. I don't know what screen size I have. 6. Or I think it's supposed to be in single quotes.
Yeah,
let's do
HTML
8.
attributes are always string. Although I guess it's a little weird in React. But
The large. Okay, now it works. It was just, yeah. Okay, so the auto doesn't actually do it properly, but now we have this showing, and then if we click, I did comment the other one out, so it's not going to show, but okay. Yay, we fixed the stylings. So just to recap, you have to install. So after you install here, this is in the notes, you install and you have to put this in your main.jsx or whatever your main, what is it called? Entry file is. All right, let's continue. Okay, so we were kind of seeing some examples of conditional rendering. So we said one of them is in this syntax where you can just put your variable that's controlling the show or not show, and then you can AND it with your component to be able to see it when this variable is true. Another way is to just make a function and do an if statement. So if show article, in here, if show article, then then you can just send in an article. I don't remember if I have to do a return. Yeah, I do have to return it. So return. And this will just return this component in this place. So that's another way. And the third way of doing it is what we saw earlier with the ternary operator. So we can do show article question mark. And then if we are going to show the article, or if it's true, then we show the article. Else, we can just put an empty string. We can also put like an empty div or whatever, but we can, yeah, an empty string would work. Yeah.
So
Any
on
questions?
on lines 43 and
Mhm.
44, if it's false, does that still take up space in on your page? Because I would think that 45 would, right?
45 would not, because this is an empty string, so it might, I don't know if it would take like 1 pixel or something. I don't think it would. Let me see. Let's see the difference. Hold on. Anyways, okay, so we have this, and let's try to see if it moves. I guess this is a bad example. Wait, let's see where it is. This is the pixel where it starts. I'm gonna try to do one of those like
I can actually just check
sizing
it on my
things.
own. We don't have to.
Yeah.
Last time on that, sorry.
No, it's okay. Then I'm gonna save here. No, it's the same. Oh, I had it unclicked, but I don't know what I was trying to show. That was a bad example. Anyways, so we have a working-ish site. So we have our what is this called? The article teaser, and then we have our article image that shows up. Let's extend this now. Actually, do we have any questions before we continue?
What happened to the article ID on the article teaser?
I didn't end up doing anything with it right now. I'm just logging it.
Oh, okay. I thought
Oh,
just
you mean
thought.
on the component? I deleted it because it kind of looked bad.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That's on me. I didn't mention that.
So on line 40 on your app.jsx, is there no difference between line 43 and 45? I don't really like, why would
so all
you ever
three of
do?
these are the same.
I guess I just mean like, why would I ever do line 45 if it looks like line 43 is the exact same thing, but you don't have to set an empty string to do it?
It's just a
Oh,
preference.
you were just showing. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
there's like a reason you did that.
Oh, no, not at all. This is just preference, whatever you choose, all three of these will exhibit the same behavior. That's what I was trying to show. Any other questions? No? Okie dokie. All right, so now we just want to extend this behavior for all of the articles. So let's see how we can do that. So I'm going to try something that I'm not sure if it exactly works, but I might need some help from others. Set articles. A use state. So inside use state, Raphael, am I allowed to do a function? Or-
Not,
I think when you initialize it,
Sure.
it needs to have a hard-coded value, but I haven't tried.
Okay,
what did you want to accomplish with the function?
I wanted to just pull this information for for all of the articles.
You could just do console log hello.
Oh, I can map it.
The articles, check it if that works.
Sorry, say it again.
I'm saying if you wanted to test if that will work, you could just put like
The
console
console,
log hello
yeah.
and then put render articles.
Yeah, no, I figured out, or hopefully I figured out what I can do. So I could map my news data
Yeah,
and then just set it equal to something similar to this. I think that would work. Unless you guys think.
I think that makes sense. You map it all to and return it to a variable and then set the initial state.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know about if it'll work doing that inside the use state, but it totally could. And if not, we just move it outside. So
Okay.
we might as well find out.
Let's try it out. Okay, so we're gonna return something similar to this. I think I have to return this. Okay, cool. So we're going through the news data and then grabbing article. And then for each article, I'm going to return a dictionary that has these fields. So I think if I put index comma, this should automatically know that it's an index. And I would be able to use this as index. So we'll see if that's true in a bit. So article is gonna do replace which one is it? I'll just replace them so they don't replace everything. Okay, I'm gonna stop before. Okay, so what I did was map the news data and then grab the index, which should be a given from the map function. So it automatically gives you an index, and then the article, which is an alias for whatever piece of data that we grabbed from the news data. And then I am returning in the place of each article item or article dictionary, I'm returning this dictionary instead, which is the stuff that I actually want. So we can see if this works. How do I do this? I'm just gonna, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm gonna comment those things out. Oh. Let's just, I think if I do a console log, it'll just show console log articles. Let's see what this does. Okay, I'm getting some sort of error. Cannot read properties length. I think it's this. Let me,
I think you have the parameters flipped. It's article and then index.
and then index, okay, yeah. Now it's giving me a different,
And I think you lost a parenthesis.
thank you.
Uh,
It's over
open
here.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, the VS Code autocomplete is annoying sometimes.
Okay, I got something here. Yay. We got a print of all of the stuff that we wanted. And if I look at each object, it only holds the information that I wanted previously. So something's working, yay. Okay. I'm gonna remove the console log. And okay, so now I'm gonna do something similar to what we did in the nav bar. So I'm gonna map, let's remember what we did here. I'm gonna map the items that I have and create the components that I need, which are the components that we created earlier. So our article teaser and then our show article. I'm gonna move this up a little bit, just so they're together. All right. Any questions before I start this? No? All right. So articles. App. And for each one, I'm actually gonna change this name to random article. Just because I don't want to use it anymore. That's gonna give me an error because it's trying to grab article here and it doesn't know what to do with it. So I'm gonna name this one in here article because we're looping through all of the articles and grabbing an article. Which makes sense when you read it. All right, so what we want to do is grab this. And then for each article, we're gonna do this part. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what this does. Not load content. What am I missing here? Oh, is this supposed to be this again or? Um,
Are you trying to access that random article at all anymore in your stuff?
the random article, no, I'm not. I just wanted to leave that there as a reference from before. Okay, I think one of my parentheses is not correct. For each article, I think I might have to wrap this in something.
Oh, you might have to wrap outside the map call.
Outside, I think this worked because the
Oh,
error went away.
oh, okay, and it is inside a div. Sorry.
Oh, awesome. So now we have a list.
Nice.
So what happens when we click? All of them show up. Can anyone tell me why this behavior is happening?
Does it need a key?
No. So how is this article being shown? What is our what is our variable? It's just we're using just one, right? We're using one for the entire piece, everything here, right? Yes, no. So
Yes.
yeah, we're using one variable
Pass in an
for
ID, and then return that article with that ID.
yeah, so this one is just a true or false. So the moment we click on one, it's going to become true. And so because it's the same variable for all of them, they're all gonna take that true and just run with it. And be like, okay, now I can show it, even though it's not the one that we clicked, because we didn't specify that it should be a specific one. So one way of doing this is that we can take our article ID and somehow make it specifically only show one that it, what is it called? Only show the one that we want. But I would say that wrapping these two components in one component might be a better option. Because then each of those wrapper components would have access to their own show article. And it will only show the article related to that article teaser. Does that make sense?
Can you just say that again?
Yeah, so right now our issue is that we have all of these items listed one right after the other, and they're all sharing the same exact show article, what is it called, variable. So in the state, it's sharing one state. And so if we change it, if we click on one, it's affecting all of the others because the others are using that same exact variable to see whether or not they should open or close their articles. So a way to fix that is compartmentalize. So we could keep the state only specific to the component versus the entire app, because we want only the specific component that we click on to open its to show its article. Does that seem like a good
Let's
plan?
do it.
Let's do it. Awesome. Okay, let's create a new file. Let's call it, I don't know what to call it. Actually, let's keep article. No,
How about just article group?
that works. So I would have called it article and then article teaser and article detail. So instead of article here, I would call this article details. And then this is article teaser, and then the bigger component is just article. But I don't want to change everything. So article group works.
Would it not work to just put the state in the article itself, the article component? Would it not work?
In the article itself?
Yeah, couldn't you just put couldn't you move your code where you're setting the variable or the
Mhm.
Boolean into your article, and wouldn't that do the same thing?
So the article, where's my app? Sorry, my mouse. Okay, here it goes. So you could have it in just the article, but your article teaser needs to know that state too. So it has to be on a higher, like one higher level. So both of them have access, because this one is clicking. So this one is changing the value, and this one is using it. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, a little.
Could we
Yes.
recap why we're creating article group, like how that helps with
Yeah.
separating the state of the
So we have here our map. So this is just listing these components one right after the other, and they're all sharing the same state called show article, and this show article determines whether we show the article details or not. So the problem is when we click, it shows all of the articles. It doesn't just show the one that we want. So isolating this piece into its own component will allow us to create a state that is specific to this one component. And then that way, if you click, it will only open this one. It won't open everything else. And we'll see that here when we're doing this. So did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I think it'll be more clear as we go. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so I'm just initializing everything. Export article, export defaults, article group, and then here. Right. And then we're gonna import it into our app. How it's spelled. Import article group. Okay. So now what we're supposed to do is with each loop of this, we're just gonna want to return article group. And then I'm going to move these into article group because it makes more sense that way. So this is a container for both the article teaser and the article itself. So in here, I would put these here, and I would need to import them. So we're going to import those two components. So we're going to import the article and then the article teaser. I've said the word article so many times today. Okay. Okay, so this takes care of the components themselves. So I'll probably move these for the article group just so we have them in the same area. Why is this weird? Okay. And I'm gonna just clean up my code a little. That looks fine. Gonna move this render show into the article group, which is, we're not calling it currently, this was just for the example. Then I can go back here and let's see what else are we using? So show article, we're not using it here anymore. We're going to want to use it inside the article group. So let's take this out here and put it inside the article group. I'll fix that in a sec. So I just realized that the function I had put outside of my component, not inside, which is not what we want. Okay. And then I also need to import use state. Am I moving too fast for you guys? Or is this fine?
Good.
I think it's use state from React, right? Yep. Okay. So here, we created an article group that will house our article teaser and our article detail pieces. And so we created a state that will track our show article like we had before. And this will determine whether an article should show or not. So what's one piece that I forgot in here? So we have our variable that will determine, but with the article teaser, what else is it expecting that I forgot about?
The parameters for the click function.
Yeah, so I forgot my article. So I'm not getting my article data, and I'm also not getting my handle click, title click. So let's get those real quick. Handle title click, we could send it in here, but since our show article data is being handled in article group, we don't need it anymore in here. We can't use it because that function does not exist in here anymore. So we go in here, and by the function I mean the set show article. It doesn't exist in the app anymore because we moved the state down one level. And this is kind of an example. You guys were asking about like where to set your states, where to keep your data and stuff like that. This is a perfect example of putting the data only where it needs to be. So on the top level, our nav bar didn't need this data. So it didn't make sense anymore to put it up here. And since we created a component specific to the articles, then this is it. Yeah, Dalton.
I guess I'm having a hard time following. So you erased everything so that you could put everything you already had in an article group that's gonna, I don't know. That's what I guess I don't understand. I don't get how the article group works, I guess.
So the article group is going to be, let me see what I need to, okay. I'll demonstrate it in one sec. I just need to hand in the article just so it knows what to do with it. So I'm gonna send it in the props. So I'm gonna call it article. And then here in article group, I'm gonna send in article. And I'm gonna call it, I'm gonna do this. Article equals the article that I'm getting here. Okay. So pretty much article group is a group that contains our article teaser piece. And then when I click on it, this should only open the image for this one. And let's see if it works. And it did. So before we had the behavior of I click on one, all of them click. And that was because they were all sharing the same exact show article variable that determined basically if it's true, then show the article. If it's false, then do not. And then when we clicked on one, because it was shared, one of them would create it, or one of them would turn it into true. So all of them had the value true. But now since we put each of these pieces into its own component, and we put the state inside of this piece. So the state is the show article state. It's not available to all of them as it was before. So on a higher level in our app, we don't have any understanding of what show article is here. All we know is that we have a nav bar and that we have articles that we are mapping to these components. So for each article, we're creating a component called article group. And what this component is doing is it's creating our article teaser, which is our top part. And then it's sending in a title click function. And what this function does is it uses a state that I created called show article that is specific to this one component because we looped through it and we created many different components. So this show article is specific to this one article that was created. And it turns it to true when we click on it. And so if it's true, the article piece has access to this and it will know that since now this is true, I will render your article. And this article renders the image. So if I click, we see it, and only one of them does. Any questions? Does that make sense, Dalton?
Can you go back? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but just as a rule of thumb, does it make sense every time you're going to make a state that you should probably not put it in your app? Like you should always try to put states and components, or is this just a scenario in which it won't work?
So it depends on where the state is being used. So before, because we only had one article, it was fine to just put it in the app because we didn't need this multiple, like we didn't need to have a separate component since we only had two pieces of information that were using one state. And it was very simple, so we could put it in our app. But because we have a list of them and we want the same functionality for all of them, but we don't want them to all be attached to each other. So if I click on one, I don't want all of them to do the same thing. That's when I decided to take the state out of the app and put it specifically in a new component. That way, I'll get the behavior that I want only within the confines of like this rectangle. So if we look at the, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the components. Let's close these. So here we go. So we have our nav bar. So this is our app, right? Our app has a nav bar and then a list of article groups. And then each article group will have the article teaser. And then when I click it, it will also have the article. So article teaser and article are at the same level. So when I unclick, it deletes it or it removes it. And then, yeah, when I click it, it's there. Does that make sense? I think I explained a little too much with going back to this. But... Okay, awesome. Yeah, Alicia.
Can you go back to your code real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So make sure, and so in the main, I think it's app.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see the only things that we have here. Could you scroll up?
Yeah.
are, so the nav bar state, and
Does it
then
help if I make
the-
it smaller?
and then the articles.
Yeah, so this, if we remove this, this is all we're using.
Okay, so here, articles is a list of each article with just that data from the article. And then on line 36, we're mapping through that articles and passing in. So for each article in that list, we're making an article group and we're passing in the actual article. Okay,
Mhm.
could you now go to article group, please?
Yep.
Can you remind me again on line 26 while we have the spread operator for the ... article?
Yeah, so this sends in the information as separate entities. So it sends it in kind of like this. So in our article, we have ID, title, abstract, byline, image, created date. So if we just sent in article without the spread, so article equals article. Inside the article component, I'm going to have to, sorry. Okay, inside my article component, instead of just grabbing props dot whatever the piece was, so props dot image, props dot ID, I would have to access it through props dot article dot image. So it adds one more layer of encapsulation and it sends it in as an object. But if I have the spread operator, I don't need to do that. It just sends in all of the individual items without me having to list them out one by one.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Awesome. And I don't need to send in their aliases. They're just going to be named whatever they're named inside the article object, which is
Okay, I think I just realized where my confusion was, because we're not actually displaying all of the data that we're passing in. We're only selectively choosing the URL.
Oh, yeah. That
So I
was
was like, well, where's all the other stuff? But I got it.
yeah, that was just in interest of time. I didn't want to get too hung up on the stylings and stuff. Any other questions? How do you guys feel about this? Is this confusing? Did it make sense? Did it hopefully clear up some things? Yeah, awesome. So the homework for tonight is going to be pretty much the exact same thing. You are going to recreate this as your homework. And I would like I would like you guys play around with some of the Bootstrap stuff, so you can add some nice stylings, do something different. There is another homework as well called Mad Libs, which, yeah. So the first piece of the homework will be pretty simple because you guys already saw it. But yeah, any other questions?
I have a question. So when it says the error where every thing needs a key, is that like just something that we just need, like we can just ignore that, or is that like best practice, or like what's that about?
Yeah, best practice, whenever you do a map, you should give each item a key. So here, I would give it key equals, let's say article.id. So this way, each one of these article groups will be identifiable. So now if I go back to my code, it shouldn't give me any errors.
Okay, so it's like like an ID that you would put on an HTML document. So you can do like get element by ID,
Mhm.
kind of. Okay.
So
like
it's,
concept.
yeah, the key is mostly for React on the back end. Like I think Raphael mentioned either yesterday or the day before. So the keys are used by React to figure out like the reference to each item, because if all the items are the same, you need a way to distinguish like which one. And you can also use the key to grab the individual elements by that key, like the ID, like you said. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh. Other questions?
I think Avery and Logan have an announcement.
Yeah, please take the floor.
Okay, hello everybody. So after the lunch today, Logan and I are putting on a TA breakout session. This is just for Django review. So like an overall look over the stuff we've covered in Django, whether it's like post, get, Axios requests or like migration issues. We're going to be covering just overall a refresher of what we've been doing in the previous week to prepare everyone for the test. This is a completely optional breakout session. So if you feel like, oh, I have a strong understanding of Django and you feel confident, by all means, go ahead and work on your React and or whatever else you want to have covered. But that's going to be happening after lunch today. And then we'll probably just also talk about, some debugging tips and like maybe common errors that we've been seeing in the past week over some of the Django projects. So that's just open to anybody after lunch. Logan, do you want to add anything to that?
No, that's basically what we're going to do. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys. Any more last minute questions before?
Maybe I missed it, but how long are we gonna have for this next assessment to do? To conclude it?
The weekend. So I think it gets released on Friday and then until Monday.
That's right.
What breakout room will the TAs be in?
That
We can be in
is a good
breakout room
question.
1.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll open the breakout rooms in a bit. Should I stop the recording or pause it? Oh, we stop.